Welcome back to Hardball. A newly discovered audio tape of Hillary Clinton back in the 1980s laughing about the facts of a decade-old child rape case is coming back to haunt her. In 1975, Mrs. Clinton was 27 years old, newly married, and running the University of Arkansas's legal aid clinic. Well, according to the New York Times, she was appointed then by a judge to represent a 41-year-old man accused of raping, believe it or not, a 12-year-old girl. Well, the case had been written about before, but the Washington Free Beacon, a conservative newspaper, uncovered audio last month from an interview Mrs. Clinton did with Arkansas reporter Roy Reid in the 1980s. In that interview, Clinton laughs about the case and seems to suggest she thought the client was guilty, her client.
Of course, he claims that he didn't all this stuff. He took a lie detector test. I had to take a polygraph, which he passed, which forever destroyed my faith in polygraphs. But, you know, what was sad about it was that the prosecutors had evidence, among which was his underwear.
Well, by all accounts, Mrs. Clinton, then a private citizen, basically the wife of the governor, aggressively defended her client. The prosecutor in the case, Maylor Gibson, told Newsday in 2008 that Clinton was just a real bulldog in the case. She attacked the credibility of the accuser, the young girl. She also went after the forensic evidence, which seems to have been badly mishandled by the authorities. She took some to an expert in New York who confirmed the evidence couldn't prove anything. Here's how Clinton describes what happened next.
I went back and told Maylor Gibson that I had, well, I probably can't remember his name, but I cut out who's who, and I'd done all this stuff, and I handed it to Maylor Gibson. I said, well, this guy's ready to come from New York and read this miscarriage of justice. So we were going to plea bargain, so I went before Moffitt Cummings to present the plea. And Moffitt said, what is this? And Gibson said, it was, you know, first degree rape. And, but, you know, he was dropping the charge, he was dropping it. I can't remember, something like oddly or something.
Well, this all comes out of the jar of the bizarre. Anyway, ultimately, the defendant served less than a year in jail for what was almost a capital case in the old days, a rape case. Joan Walsh is editor-at-large for Salon and an MSNBC political analyst, and Michelle Bernard is the president of the Bernard Center for Women, Politics, and Public Policy. Joan, let's start with you in this. I've listened to the whole tape, and she does laugh throughout it, and I don't know how to talk about it except to explain. Here was a guy, she was defending him, a public defender, basically, assigned to the case. The guy was probably guilty, the way she was talking about him. She thought he was guilty. And certainly, I don't know, I've never been a defense lawyer. I've never been particularly sympathetic to criminal lawyers in many ways when they have a really clever defense or shrewd defense of somebody they know to be guilty, but that's the way the law works. I understand it. You don't have to like somebody to know that the job has to be done.
Right.
But then there is a case where they talk about how the guy had underwear with blood on it and whatever else on it, evidence of a rape. And for some reason, the stupid police in that case cut out the patch of the underwear that had the blood in it and all the evidence of a criminal act, of rape, and lost it. So she takes the rest of the underwear with that part of the patch cut out, takes it up to some hotshot guy up in Brooklyn who's an expert on forensic evidence, and they're all chuckling about the fact that they don't even have the actual evidence,
right.
You know, and they have been able to prove that there wasn't, they were able to say to the judge as he reviewed their further testimony that there wasn't enough evidence left on the pants with the part cut out with the evidence on it to justify that as forensic evidence. So, but they're all laughing about this. She's laughing about the fact the guy flunked the lie detector test when she told her the lie detector tests don't really work. So you put it all together. Your views. I'm trying to leave this open. That's my take on it. Your view.
He passed the lie detector test, and that's what she said convinced her they don't work. And liberals don't really believe in lie detector tests, so that's consistent with her belief. Look, Chris, it's not a fun tape to listen to. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it, but this is what defense attorneys do, and this is a foundation of our democracy, that you are entitled to a competent defense lawyer. And you sometimes get a bad one. This guy got a good one. If she had thrown the case,
that you got is it laughable that you got a rapist off and raping a 12-year-old? Is that why is she laughing?
I'm sure she would take that laughter back. She is specifically laughing, and we've both listened to the whole tape. She's laughing about this judge. She's laughing about the bad handling of the evidence, and that's what criminal defense lawyers deal with that all the time, because evidence can be falsified. They have to be on top of it. Maybe in this case, she took advantage of the law, but it was the law. She didn't do anything wrong.
I wish it was
she's having a casual conversation with a reporter she knows. I'm sure she'd take that laughter back.
Unfortunately, it's worse than that. When she laughs about the fact she calls it a miscarriage of justice if the guy gets convicted, as if that would be a joke. I'm sorry, it wouldn't have been a miscarriage of justice. It would have been justice. Anyway, here's more from the audio with later Secretary Clinton. The key piece of evidence in the case was the defendant's underwear, as I said, which had traces of blood on it. But it had been mishandled, as I said, while in police custody and partially destroyed. As I said, they took the patch out with the blood on it. Anyway, in the tape, Clinton talks about going to the judge, trying to obtain the underwear to get it independently tested. Let's listen.
And the Lawson coming, Ms. Lawson, that yes, indeed, I had a right to see the evidence before it was presented. They presented these underpants with a hole in it. I said, what kind of evidence is that? You know, you've got a pair of underpants with a hole in it. Of course, the crime lab had thrown away the piece that they cut out. It was really, I mean, I plea bargained it down because they didn't have any, it turned out they didn't have any evidence.
12-year-old rape victim, obviously a victim.
Absolutely.
Blood on the underwear. The guy, she said it would be a miscarriage of justice if he had been convicted. It would have been justice, obviously. Now, I don't know. I've never been a criminal lawyer. Well, how do you put it in her context?
I mean, I got to tell you, I think that this case could be very problematic for Hillary Clinton. I know that the New York Times reports that she was appointed to take this case, but if you listen to the tape, in the very beginning of the tape, she tells the interviewer that the prosecutor in the case called her and asked her to take the defendant on as a client because the defendant was looking for a woman to be the lawyer. Obviously, a criminal defense, somebody who's been accused of rape, a male who's looking for a woman lawyer, thinks that he's going to get more help from a woman lawyer saying that the victim is falsely accusing him. So the question is, if she wasn't court appointed and she decided to take this case as a favor to the prosecutor, there are many Americans who are going to look and listen to this tape and they're going to say,
but she was court appointed. She was court appointed.
Please, Joan, let me finish. This is very serious. This girl was allegedly raped and beaten by two men living in her parents' home. The second man just didn't happen to be accused. Hillary Clinton took the case. This is a woman who undoubtedly has always been an advocate for women, children, and families, but she took the case. She knew what the allegations were. She indicated in the tape that she believed that her client, more likely than not, was guilty of the crime that he was accused of. And so people are going to say, inevitably, who is the real Hillary Clinton? She's got a very distinct Southern drawl on this tape, which she no longer has today. She took on a case where she believed her client probably raped this young woman. The young woman was in a coma. She was in a hospital. She did many, many years of physical therapy. She ended up drug addicted, never married, no children. She is speaking out now, and she's saying, Hillary Clinton ruined my life. I acted as a public defender my last year of law school, and I knew very early on I'd have to be a prosecutor because I could not stand doing something like this. So people are going to ask.
And
people are going to, Joan, I'm almost finished. People are going to ask, why did she take the case when the prosecutor said, I've got somebody who has been accused of raping a 12-year-old girl, and he's specifically looking for a woman lawyer. For some people, that's going to leave a distaste.
Can I please get some facts on the record? She was court appointed. Yes, the prosecutor asked for her, but the judge asked her to do it. She has since said, the New York Times reported this too, Michelle, she has since said she asked not to take the case, but the judge forced her to. She was running. Yes, she did do it. And you know what else, Michelle? She didn't go on to become a public defender. She didn't go on to become a criminal defense attorney. Maybe she didn't like it either. Now, I'm not defending her laughter. I don't know why she was laughing, but this is the way our system of justice works, and you've presented the facts in a particularly twisted way that leave out her
What was twisted? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to know what was twisted also, because, I mean, the facts are the facts. You can go on and you listen to the tape from beginning to end. And I'm not saying that she's wrong. I am saying if you are part of the American electorate and you are a woman who supports Hillary Clinton, who, I have to say, I believe that if she wants to be the next president of the United States, she will absolutely be elected and have the job. But there are people who are going to ask, how do you take a case where the prosecutor and they're entitled?
Can we talk politics for a second, which is my strength?
Can we get the facts
what
on
is
the
the
record?
factual difference?
She was appointed.
You're arguing that she was court appointed. You're saying she wasn't court appointed.
And B, she said that she was court appointed.
She was asked by a prosecutor to take the case.
I'm not disagreeing with Joan. The prosecutor asked her to take the case. She said she was court appointed. I don't know if it happened before or after the prosecutor. Because when you're court appointed, you don't have a choice. The judge appoints you to a case and you have to take it. And I agree with you. And I'm saying on the facts that she has said that she wouldn't take, that she regrets taking the case.
Let me suggest this case is going to be, if it comes out, the Republicans have this tape, of course. They're going to get it for the free beacon.
Absolutely.
Number two, they're going to use it. Number three, John, I think they're going to get this victim. who was 12 years old at the time, who's now grown up, a country person.
Yes.
She's been interviewed. Look, I'm not saying it can't hurt her. I'm absolutely not saying that. But I just think that we have a responsibility to put it in perspective, and some perspective was lacking and some facts were lacking here.
Okay, let's also put in perspective, she was 25 years old at the time, and she may have been a hotshot young lawyer with hotshot young lawyers' values and the way they look at things. I've watched enough movies about court cases to see Tom Cruise in action. When you talk a certain way, when you're talking to somebody interviewing about being a hotshot lawyer, maybe you don't talk in the way you and I like to talk, all of us. And I think I want to put this aside. This is not going to stop Hillary Clinton from becoming president of the United States.
And she had an obligation to represent women's rights.
But I do think it's all part of the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she has to look at this and say, do I want to put up with this stuff? Yes. Anyway, she'll have to, and I think she will. Anyway, thank you, Joan Walsh, as always.
Thanks,
thank you, Michelle Bernard. A lively discussion. Up next, the people.